All right, hey everybody. My name is Kevin. Welcome to the channel. I have had a Tesla for the past year and a half or so, but only really started using FSD with the release of version 13. And this channel is really aimed at looking at how FSD performs in New York City. So I live in New York. I live in downtown Manhattan. And I use the car a lot to go to and from Brooklyn to tennis, use it to go to Costco, take it down to see my parents in Maryland. So I do these sorts of things with the car. What I notice is that there's not actually a lot of discussion or evidence about how FSD performs in New York City, which if you think about the continental US, I guess the US more generally, is probably one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult, urban driving environments that you can exist. Very aggressive drivers, lots of traffic, and in general, even for a human, it can be difficult to drive in New York. I know when I first started driving in New York, it was definitely pretty intimidating to me, very stressful, and it's still kind of stressful to be on the roads, even with FSD helping out. And even having owned a car in New York for over a year now, have been living in New York for over a couple of years. So I really wanted to document and show what the experience of using FSD is like. Happy to talk about my experience in New York, owning a Tesla in New York, owning a Tesla in general, really whatever you guys are interested in. I'd love to hear your feedback, the kind of things that you want to hear about, and obviously places where I can improve. A little bit of background, I only really started using FSD a lot once version 13 was launched. So now currently the car is on version 13.2.8. And I found that the jump from version 12 to version 13 was huge. I mean, I don't think that version 12 was really usable even in the suburbs. And version 13 is more than usable in the suburbs. I use it probably for about 80% of the miles that I log in the city now whenever I choose to use FSD. So I think it does a pretty good job. I think there are some places that it definitely can improve, and I'm not going to be shy about that. I really want to show the software for what it is, all of its great capabilities, but also all of the warts that it may have. Today, I'm going to go play tennis in Prospect Park. So we're on the way out of Manhattan, heading over the Brooklyn Bridge. You're going to see this a lot, where basically a lot of my videos start on the Brooklyn Bridge. And I'm just going to give you my thoughts about what the car's doing, how I think it might be able to perform better, and in general, what are the good and bad of FSD. So here, FSD is doing a pretty good job on the Brooklyn Bridge. One thing that I would say is I would try and start to look for a hole to move over to the middle lane a little bit earlier. So the car really needs to be in one of the two rightmost lanes on the Brooklyn Bridge to take the exit for where we need to go. So we need to go on the BQE to head over to Prospect Park. Generally, you can probably find a hole to cut in. I'm not really the kind of New York driver that likes to wait till like the very end to cut over. There are definitely people who like to do that. I think that that's one way of driving, but I think my preference is usually just to get in line, wait it out. As we can see, it's not like the lanes, the speed difference is actually that big. So not a lot of benefit here to being in the leftmost lane versus, let's say, the middle lane. But that's fine. We'll see how FSD does. It usually can find some time to get over. So here, let me show you guys on the screen. Here, I would probably think about slowing down and then getting over after this Prius, or even now, they could kind of like sneak in here. We don't really need to yet, but we're definitely coming up on it. So we're gonna see how the car performs. We're gonna see when it decides to get over. It's done this, I've taken this drive before with FSD quite a few times. I play tennis on a weekly basis, multiple times per week, different courts throughout the city. So that's really what you're going to see me mainly use the car for. And by now it's usually gotten over to the middle lane, but there have been times where it's cut over pretty late. I can kind of feel that it's really looking for a hole now. We're going pretty slow and it hasn't found a gap yet. So this will be interesting.
Now keep right.
It will definitely be interesting. There's one that it could have slowed down and taken. We're over the single white line. So this is significantly more aggressive behavior than I would normally do driving manually. And let's see what the car's going to do.
Now make a U-turn onto
Okay,
Canyon
so
Road West.
if I wasn't testing out FSD for you guys here, I would have intervened. Now we're going to go through the heart of downtown Brooklyn to head over to Prospect Park. Looks like actually a very similar amount of time, so FSD lucked out there. Sometimes this way can also be a little bit jammed, but I guess at this hour the BQE and going through the heart of downtown Brooklyn are very different. So this is good. This is going to be quite a different drive than what I normally do when I go over to Prospect Park. But if it were trying to follow the directions, previously what I was supposed to do there at that juncture off the Brooklyn Bridge was to get in those right two lanes, and it didn't do that. So kind of a mark against FSD. That being said, at least the car didn't freak out. It didn't do something dangerous. It missed the exit, kept going. You know what they say, bad drivers never miss an exit. So if FSD is willing to miss an exit, at least that means that what it's prioritizing is being safe. So in that sense, it's good. You know, in another sense, it really should have been like significantly more proactive in getting over the lane that it needed to. Given that I kind of know the area, I knew that if we had missed the exit, not really a big deal. You just take the surface streets over to Prospect Park, which are a little bit more chaotic in its own way. The BQE is also chaotic. So we'll see how it goes. I'm probably going to end up fast forwarding through parts that might be a little bit less interesting. So, you know, right now the car's just going straight. There's some stoplights. This is very par for the course. Bus is giving us room. So I'm going to check back in with you guys when I have something more to report. Otherwise, just sit back and watch the car take us through downtown Brooklyn over to Prospect Park. Alright, so interesting situation here. That Highlander was stuck over a little bit. The car really inched out a little bit over to the right lane, but did it in a pretty slow and calm manner so other drivers could see what its intentions were.
Now turn left onto Atlantic Avenue.
Certainly, I think that maybe it could have just been a little bit more patient. That car was going to move anyways. But that's okay. Handled this left turn just fine. Gonna go down Atlantic here. And so, again, I will just check back in when there's something to report. Alright, so here we are approaching the turn off of Atlantic to Flatbush Avenue. Car's doing a great job managing its space here. You can see that it's it needs to move a little bit towards the left sometimes given the stop traffic on the right. Here it's going to hang to the left until it comes back over, all the way over to the right lane.
Now go right onto Flatbush Avenue.
Doing a good job here. You know, I say for most people that's not like a very easy thing to do. Yields to the pedestrian, can't say that I really would have walked if I were her. It's nice that the car was driving, but you know, I think that sometimes you just got to be careful. You just got to be careful, be a little bit more defensive. But yes, technically she did have the right of way, so she had every right to walk, but had I been in her situation, I would have made a different choice. Here we go, we got a scooter coming out. Car's doing a good job letting the scooter come into traffic. We're gonna come over now, which is totally fine. We have plenty of time to get over. A nice big hole. Gonna exit here. Alright, so along the left side of me, now we're on right next to Prospect Park. We have to head all the way around to Prospect Park South for the tennis courts, so we still got a little bit more driving to do. Usually FSD handles these roads along Prospect Park just fine. Not usually much to report. Nice straight roads with traffic lights. At some of the roundabouts, it does seem to get confused and doesn't do a great job. So we're gonna see how it does there. One thing I will say is that FSD is not the best at dodging potholes. I understand that this is not the... Okay, there you saw a car was getting ready to pull out. I was reacting to it in case I needed to intervene and stop and honk to make sure that they didn't come out. I will say that it would be nice if FSD felt like it was being a little bit more defensive in these kind of situations. You know, okay, I'm going to intervene there and give it a gas pedal. So that it thought that that pedestrian was going to jump out in front of the car and the pedestrian was not. So that could have been a pretty bad situation where someone who was not expecting us to slow down might have rear-ended the car. Luckily, there was no one behind us. All right, so the GoPro cut out there for just a second. We're back now. What I was saying is the car has to understand that situation, and it needs to know that the person's not going to jump out in front of us. I mean, I know that it's trying to be cautious and safe, and that's great. However, the car also needs to be well behaved based off of what other people in traffic are expecting. So perhaps it's because the training set is not very representative of New York City, how New York City pedestrians behave, but it's really common that people are right up on the edge like that and just waiting for a hole in traffic, and you're not supposed to stop like that. Now, certainly you should slow down and take caution, but you shouldn't be hauling on the brakes like that unless they really look like they're going to come out across the street.
Now enter the roundabout and take the third exit.
You know, I think this is one of those things where just needs more training. The car's got to do a much better job understanding these sorts of things. All right, car's got itself in a little bit of a pickle here. It's in a lane where it's okay. We're not really supposed to do this, so I'm taking over. That was bad. That was really bad. It ended up in like a right turn lane and car ended up in a right turn lane and then kept on going straight, and it's not supposed to do that. So I've seen that the car do that roundabout at least 4 or 5 times. I think it might have made that mistake once before, and other times it's been successful. That was pretty egregious. It was very clearly marked as a right turn only lane, and the FSD did not obey that. So it's got to know that. I think that being able to read and understand and digest the road signage is very important. So what I was saying is, you know, FSD probably does about 80% of my miles, but there are definitely times where it intervenes places where I know that it's a little bit more suspect. And I think that the way that I probably should be doing this going forward is just intervening a little bit earlier, knowing when the car is going to be in a situation where I don't think that it fully is capable of following the directions, or it's in the wrong lane, and I'll just intervene a little bit earlier going forwards, like I normally would do, and we'll really try and test out those situations a little bit more when, oh, okay, it's making room for this motorcycle here on the right. That was an interesting move. Okay, for this moped. I was wondering why it was inching up. So yeah, I'm gonna intervene a little bit more, a little earlier, like I normally would when I'm driving by myself, and we'll save some of these sort of scenario tests for when new versions of FSD come out. Or I guess maybe not obviously. For those of you that don't follow the FSD news closely, there hasn't been a new version for quite a few months. There have been some very small updates, but nothing major. All right, let's see what this green Subaru is going to do. Looks like they're going to stay there, so that's fine. Car's in the wrong lane, so we're going to disengage here. Yeah, so the car definitely has had issues in this traffic circle as well. So like I said, it doesn't do a great job with these roundabouts. And so I took over here. So we're approaching the tennis courts now. As we come around, you'll see it's this white bubble. So look, I think that FSD did an okay job here, but had I not intervened, it would definitely have driven subpar. I think that the almost emergency-like stop for a pedestrian that wasn't really crossing the road was not great. That's a bad false positive. And then here, again, it had an issue following directions, across the Brooklyn Bridge. So all of these things need to be sorted out. I still think that it's a great tool. I'm very happy with my decision to go and get FSD, even well after I purchased the car. But there are definitely things that need to be figured out with FSD, and it requires more training. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you next time. That might be on the way back from this trip, although I'm not sure if I have enough memory, or it might be later. But I'm really excited to share these sort of experiences with you guys, really excited for the future of FSD, and really want to hear what you guys have to say, what you're interested in. Give me all the feedback. You know, brand new channel, and I really want to make this a great collaborative effort between me and you. All right, see you guys later.